Hello, all, and welcome back to 100 Days of Magic. I am here to help you tune in to that special spark inside of you. I have utter faith that it is a law of the cosmos that each one of us, as manifestations of the divine light, have the potential to reconnect with that light. And I am on a mission. I have been on a mission for the last years and years that have gone by to make sure everyone has the tools that they need to remember how to connect to that divine light within you. Because though I might be a teacher and there might be other teachers around, the best teacher you can possibly find is that spark within you. It's the one best able to help you relate to your own unique expression of the divine light in the world. And it's my honor to be here with all of you. We are on day 25 of 100 Days of Magic. We made it 1/4 of the way through. Hello, Claudia. Hello, Jackie. I'm so glad you are here. And wow, 25 days already. You know, do a little math. That's like 4 hours. Is that right? I don't know. I'm losing track of time. What I'm really, really impressed with is that we all keep coming back. I just decided one day I needed to get unresty from my ability to talk live to all of you. No notes, just speak from the heart, speak to you. And poof, I have shown up for 25 days, and so have many of you. And for that, I'm grateful. But also, let's take a moment to celebrate how awesome we are. Sometimes we forget that we can make changes in our lives when we decide to make a change in our lives. And sometimes we need friends to help show up, you know, like the buddy you call if you want to make sure you have a running practice. You might not show up for yourself, but if someone is there waiting for you, you will show up to meet them. And that's what I'm doing. You're showing up for me. I'm showing up for you. We are all going to deepen our dedication to a practice of magic together. So here we are, day 25. If you haven't seen my videos before, I am Donna Woodwell. I am the organizer, the placeholder for the Crossroads of Magic and Mastery, which is named after my School of Magic and Mastery, which has all kinds of tools and tips and tricks and courses and communities to help you hold open your magical world, deepen your magical practice, study all kinds of things you might not have considered before. In this 100 Days of Magic, I'm trying to go through as many different simple tips and things and help you think about and give structure to your own magical journey. So this week we're going to be talking about the way I think of a magical practice. For those who have an interest in metaphysical stuff, it's really common for us to divide up the world into categories of earth, air, fire, and water. Even the psychologists have used this basic principle. Carl Jung adopted it for his personality types. It's the basis of the Myers-Briggs personality scale. It's convenient. It's the basis of astrology and our earth, air, fire, and water signs. It's the basis of the medicine wheel and the 4 directions of sacred energy. Just because it's 2 pairs of opposites that interact with one another to help spin out all of this. So it makes it an easy tool for understanding the different types of magic that we practice in the world. There's fire side, an air side, an earth side, and a water side. So that's what I'm going to be talking about this week. Today I'm talking about the way of the mage, which is the fire side. At least the fire side to me. Fire brings us up, it burns, and it's also incredibly creative. If you tap into the fiery energy within yourself, the desire to create is immensely powerful. We want to move things. We want to make things real. And it's tapping into that fire side of our equation that gives the magician, the mage, the person who wants to create in the world, that drive and passion to reach in there into those deepest spaces of archetypal energy and pull them all down into the world and make something real. You can say that's one of the guiding principles of our desire to be physically encapsulated in our human forms anyway, is that urge to create. It's the underlying urge behind the sexual principle. It's the underlying urge behind the desire to procreate. It is the urge that fills the hearts of all artists and all people who write books and create magnificent cathedrals and all kinds of expressions of human creativity. So when we talk about the way of the mage, what we're talking about are the tools and things that you're going to learn in order to help facilitate the process of bringing archetypal energies or spiritual energies, or however you like to conceive of them, giving them guide wires to help them manifest here on earth, and all of the stuff that you need to learn along the way. So there are tools and tricks that you probably can't see all these books behind me, but these books go on and on and on. They go all the way down this way. There's about 1,500 books in here, on and on. All of these many books, you can find the common threads. It doesn't matter what someone's talking about on the surface. There are things that hold them together. So when I talk about teaching students how to do magic in the let's create, we can use some of these tools as jumping off points. So for example, candle magic, the magic of fire, is a common energy source used as an anchor to hold our intentions down here in our physical space. We can use working with sigils, working with words as a tool for manifesting down in our physical space. We might associate that with air. We can talk about working with herbs and stones as representatives of the earthy side of our experience, and using them as anchor points for holding our spells into material manifestation. We can talk about using bags, bundles, jars as sacred containers for pulling things down into physical manifestation. All kinds of tools exist out there, and while one person might love using candle magic, one person might love creating sigils, one person might, prefer to work with herbs or stones, that's just what our preferences are, just innate to how our own particular energy is wired. But that doesn't mean that they don't all work on the same basic principles. And those basic principles are as above, so below. So much of the language of Western magic is actually written in the language of astrology. And there's a good reason for that. Astrology, and I'm not talking about charts here, I'm talking about planets. Ever since humans have been around, 200,000 years or so, looking up at the sky, you can, especially if you're in a really, really dark place, the planets are the brightest things in the sky, moving across the background of glorious stars. And since they're the brightest thing in the sky and they're moving, they captured the imaginations of generations of people, no matter where they were on the planet. And the appearance of those planets gave humans a sense, allegorically, of what they liked. For example, Venus, always near the sun, either in the morning sky or the evening sky, brightest object in the sky after the sun or the moon, absolutely brilliant. If you've ever had the pleasure of standing out in a dark sky and seeing Venus, it's very, very hard not to keep coming back and looking at her because she's so bright. So, no surprise, lots of people decided that that was a goddess of attraction because we are continually attracted to the presence of Venus. What about Jupiter? Jupiter's the biggest, brightest thing outside of the horizon line. It can be right overhead if you happen to be near the equator, and it's almost as bright as Venus at certain points in time. So again, what else would you associate with the king, the most elevated of all of the planets? And how that elevation connects us to the divine spark within us. And so for all the other planets, they have seeds of what would later be developed into a metaphysical language. The 7 sacred governors of all of reality. The later Christians would call them the archangels, responsible for different areas of creation. And so it's not surprising that an entire language of spellcraft grew up around these 7 basic principles, because those are the 7 visible planets. And so when you wanted to do magic to, let's say, conquer your enemies, you might go to Mars. He likes going out and achieving goals. God of war. If you wanted to bring love into your life, attracted to yourself, you might go to Venus, the love goddess. So all of these spell books that I have collected around here, you might pull one open and go, oh, I'm just going to follow the directions. But when you understand where that material comes from, you realize, oh my goodness, I am tapping into a language of manifestation that has been developed over the eons. And every purpose is filled with intention that aligns us on a symbolic way of the patterns above to finding the physical reflections of those patterns below. And in building that magic and in adding our own energy to that magic, we are, in essence, attempting to change the flow of the river, so to speak. You know, when you move the river, you dig a hole and then you block off the river so it jumps into a different track and flows the direction that you want it to flow. That is, in essence, what a spell is. It's digging a new track so that as the universe manifests, it manifests closer to your own desired intention. And we will talk about ethics and all kinds of things as we go through the rest of this material over the next 75 days that we have left. But ultimately, we recognize that as humans, whenever we act, we are always making changes. The difference between acting with magic is that your changes become much more potent and effective in their ability to make change in the world. All the more reason to learn how this process works and learn to trust ourselves in what we want to create. Because right now in history, we have a large paradigm shift that has to happen. Our old ways of doing things are not working anymore. They are leading to societal clashes all over the globe. They are leading to ecological devastation. We need a new way. And using magic to help dig out what those new patterns are going to be, we need some heavy lifting right now. And there is no more potent source of that than living with intention, pulling that down on all levels, and then getting other people to work with you to do the same. Hence, the way of the mage, the way of creatively engaging in the world, is a super important magical strategy, especially these days. Right? So that's just the fire side of our magical practice. tomorrow we're going to talk about the air side, the way of the seer, how you can tune in to guidance to help you figure out the path that is closest to the so-called divine path of the cosmos. Divination is giving voice to the divine. And that's what we are working with when we use any divination tools. And for this, I include astrology, but astrology and tarot, or all of the myriad ways humans have come up with to tap into the wisdom of the cosmos. All right? So, hello, everyone. You've come today. We see Leslie and Claudia and anyone else who's tuning in. I'm so glad that you are here. If you want to continue this conversation about your favorite kind of magic, feel free to put it in the chat underneath this video and we can continue our top conversation. Christine says, I'm trying very hard to trust myself, to have confidence in what I receive from my guides. I think a lot of people, Christine, are challenged to trust ourselves, especially, no offense, especially women in the modern world, perhaps in any patriarchal society. We're basically told to distrust ourselves over and over again. And so it's a double layer of figuring out how to build that confidence. I personally think that some of that distrust tends to fall away with age, which I think everybody realizes. Some of it tends to fall away with regular meditation practice as we get more comfortable in our own skin. Some of it tends to fall away as we recognize that as we plug into spirit and we make magic and we see results and we journal about the results, you get to the point where like, wow, something is happening. And humility is always a part of this process. If you can't be humble about it, if you can't laugh at yourself, this is not for you. It's just not for you. But I do think that walking the path makes us realize that just like self-aggrandizement is a ego distortion, self-distrust is another kind of ego distortion. And it's just a different part of the system that we're learning as we come back to center. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, I'm a little over, but I have to go today because I am teaching a 2-hour workshop on alchemy this afternoon to all of my wonderful Coven members. So I've got to go get ready. I look forward to continuing our conversation. So glad you tuned in today. Tomorrow I'll be back to talk about the way of the seer. Until then, take care, everyone.